This is Liz Franzel with Crawford Media Group in Denver, and today our guest is Craig Huey, founder of Election Forum, renowned speaker, political commentator, international business owner, and author. We'll be talking about how Republicans, conservatives, and Christians are 10 years behind in their marketing. Welcome to our program, Craig.
Hey, Liz, it's great to be with you.
Craig, tell us a little bit about Election Forum, and then explain what you mean that we are about 10 years behind.
Sure. Well, basically what the Election Forum does, it's a resource on the upcoming election. It talks about how judges are and how to vote for the judges and other candidates. It also gives a weekly update on kind of insider information and new trends people won't hear elsewhere about what's going on, kind of behind-the-scenes information. And it's also got some of my books, including The Christian Voter.
Is that something that's actually nationwide, or is it just local to where you're at?
The judges are nationwide, and then for people who are on the website, we give resources for different states. California's covered, and Tennessee's covered, and portions of other states are covered. And it's basically helping people know how to vote for, not against their values.
That's so good, because I know that, including myself, sometimes you look at the ballot and you have no idea what these people stand for, who they are.
Right.
And so that information, I'm sure, is so helpful to so many of us that are a little confused by those ballots.
Oh, Liz, let me tell you, most of the candidates, they use these advanced marketing techniques. And so it's a matter of deception that's going on. And so what we're finding, just take the judges. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows how to vote for a judge, and yet the judges are on the ballot, and judges don't want you to know how to vote for them. And so we have in-depth research on every judge, figuring out where they stand, and we rate them between a radical judicial activist who wants to legislate from the bench to a conservative, strict constructionist who's simply going to interpret the Constitution. And so we rate them. And it's just a resource to make voting easy. And in some areas, they can go from school board all the way up to president.
That's a lot of information. And you say you do that break that out for each state?
Well, we have only a couple of states that we have that complete information on, mm-hmm. but we have resources from others. For example, if you're in Colorado, we don't have all the people in Colorado on the website, but we have resources of who has already taken a look locally at some of these candidates, and you'll be able to still be getting the information you need to how to vote intelligently.
And do you also cover topics that are on the ballot, the bills that they're trying to pass, and the different...
The propositions
mm-hmm.
and initiatives, yes. Uh-huh.
That's a lot of information. That is so helpful, because those in and of itself are so confusing. You would read it, and you have no idea what they just said.
Exactly, and they write it so it sounds great, and it could be the worst thing in the world. They write it, and then sometimes it's a kind of dirty political trick, but let's say you have a person within the state, the Secretary of State or the Attorney General, they write the description and they want to defeat that initiative mm-hmm. or that proposition. They'll write it so it sounds horrible. And so you got to cut through all the nonsense and deception.
Well, I know just for myself that's going to be huge and so helpful, because we so are deceived thinking we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. So in this type of election, you got to be careful, because it's not the politics it used to be. It's not the election. So listeners may who are over, say, 40 may think, oh, well, it's kind of like it used to be in the past. No, elections are totally different today than ever before.
In what way? Meaning they're more digital?
Yeah, let me give you a couple of examples. One of the things is that the Republicans are 10 to 15 years behind the Democrats and how to go about marketing. And what happened was that back in 2008 and then again in 2012, President Obama put together the most advanced marketing team in history. And he basically made obsolete the idea that, it's what the candidate sounds like or looks like or who has the best policies or who's most logical and articulate. None of that matters today. Somebody could be hiding in a basement. Somebody could be disabled, and they are still put up to run an election, and it sounds amazing. And it's because they use these advanced marketing techniques that most people aren't aware of, but they use them.
What would be one example or two of those techniques?
Well, one of the things that they do is they train you of the Democrat Party and different Democrat organizations like Indivisible and MoveOn.org actually have training sessions where people can learn how to take the data they provide and send text messages to people on how to vote. And they train them on how to do texting. They have another class on how to do phoning. You could phone somebody in Wisconsin, a swing state, from the state of Florida. And so they train people how to do the phoning, how to go door to door. One of the big things they do is now a viral friend get a friend type thing where they say go for 5, 10, 15 of your neighbors, friends, family members, and they train them how to be able to carry on conversations and then make sure they get out the vote. And of course, there's the influencers, where they pay the influencers to be able to talk about the candidates to their groups. With the advanced marketing, they rely very heavily on digital marketing. So you could be a Christian or a conservative or Republican and never see the marketing materials going out to advanced data. So they'll take advanced data and see who wants to see. I'll give you some of their examples. Who wants to see abortion across America? Who wants to be able to abolish student loan debt? Who wants to be on the side of the Palestinians and Hamas and against Israel? And they segment these people into different groups and have separate campaigns and separate messages just for them to maximize the vote. And so the confidence they have of being able to get out 15 to 20% higher voter turnout than the Republicans, conservatives, Christians, libertarians can do. So it's a well-organized, well-trained group of people who are able to use video, digital ads, be on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. Most people in their 20s are getting all their information from TikTok. And with TikTok, they segment it into different groups. And so that is what anybody who's looking at politics today, different than ever before.
Why don't you think the Republicans, conservatives, Christians are able to jump on that bandwagon too and haven't already?
Well, they should have, but they don't. I'll give you an example. One of the things is that the evangelical Christians vote 85 to 90% conservative. But evangelical Christians, about 20 to 30% of them are not registered to vote. And out of those who are registered to vote, in this upcoming election in November, probably only about 50%, maybe 60% are going to vote. Yet, if you could increase the number of registered voters among evangelical Christians, you could increase the number of evangelicals who are registered and they get out to vote. You would be able to win school boards and city councils and county races and state races and national races with the state. It's the most powerful secret army. And what could be done is that any organization or campaign could geofence anybody that was at a church in the last, say, 6 months, and get their mobile ID, and then be able to send them messages and start collecting the data and making sure you have a campaign to get them out to vote. Geofencing is something the Democrats have used for years. And geofencing is a powerful tool that can be used to transform our politics and culture. But the Republicans kind of have these consultants that stay in the past. They do the old-fashioned, well, let's just send out a direct mail piece. They don't have the advanced data of knowing the interests of people. It's just not as organized, and it's not as technologically advanced.
It's just amazing. You would think that they would see the difference between their party and the Democratic Party and what they're doing to get their word out, the Democrats, and that the Republicans haven't said, wait a minute, we need to do that too. That's surprising to me. Yeah,
and they're starting to understand. Right now, the Republican National Committee is overwhelmed because they know that there's going to be ballot harvesting. And the Democrats aren't worried about church ballot harvesting. What they're trying to do is ballot harvest door to door based upon their data.
Yeah.
And the Republicans really aren't going to be doing ballot harvesting, even though that's the most powerful technique where you can get 10, 15, 20, 50, 100, 500 ballots from one person to bring them into the poll. Now, it should be outlawed, but it's legal in about 30 states. And the Republicans should be doing it, but they're not organized enough to do it.
Well, I kind of chuckled when you said they're not worried about the Democrats aren't worried about the churches. Is it because they know however many of them don't vote? And, that's the thing about what's sad about the church is, they're so concerned about church and state. Well, that was all created to keep state out of churches. And, as far as voting, if we would just vote for our values, it would be amazing, like you said.
It would be absolutely amazing. Because really, I'll tell you a little secret that most people don't know unless they're really histories of the 2016 election. What Donald Trump did in 2016 is he targeted the swing states, and he really concentrated on the evangelical vote. It shocked the Democrats that he did that. Christians and organizations in those swing states brought Christians out to the poll, and he just barely won enough votes to be able to win those states and get the electoral and actually win the election. Unfortunately, his political consultants ignored the evangelicals in 2020, and he lost the election. But the evangelicals are really the secret weapon to being able to win any type of race in the upcoming election.
So interesting. Craig, where should our listeners go to learn more about this, about your organization that would help them vote?
Well, they can go to CraigHuey.com, CraigHuey.com. They can click on elections and voter guide. You can see the newsletter. And then they can also get the book, The Great Deception. And the Great Deception book, it talks about the most important issues of today, but also at the end, it talks about all these strategies and techniques for winning an election. And it talks about geofencing. It talks about all these different things. It's really a blueprint for turning America around. So they can get the Great Deception book on Amazon, or they can get it on the website and just go to CraigHuey.com and be able to get all that information.
Craig, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, Liz. Great to be with you.